All right. It looks like Mr. Cates has clearly answered all questions that remain. So now we can move on to the end of the show. So here on the Today on Earth show, we like to end every episode with a Before You Go. This segment is going to be dedicated to things you should know before you go, and also maybe some current events that you should know before you go. Okay? So for today's Before You Go, we're going to have a special look at how big is a human in this universe? How big is this universe that we live in? So for today's report, we're going to send it over to our field reporter, Mr. Cates, in his home, where he'll show you how big is this universe and how big are we inside of it. We're going to be looking at the scale of the universe and how a human might fit into that. So on the screen here, we do have a couple of examples. Down here on the bottom right, we have a scale. So as this goes up, the bigger and bigger things we're seeing. As it goes smaller, the smaller and smaller things we're seeing. So here we have a human, right? So we know a human is bigger than, probably a little bit bigger than a dodo ball, but definitely bigger than a beach ball, right? So just to show you kind of what the scale would look like, if we go down, we know that we're bigger than a basketball, than an inch ruler, than the hummingbird. We know that we're definitely smaller than that, right? But what's bigger than us in this universe? So today, we're going to take a little look of that. So as we go up, we can see things that are bigger than us. So as you know, we are definitely not as big as an elephant, as a giraffe, as what a Tyrannosaurus Rex would have been. So look, already we're only a little bit out on the scale, and we can already see how much smaller we are than certain different animals that have existed throughout history and that currently still exist today. So we continue to keep going out. Look at these bigger things we're seeing. Now we're seeing the average United States house, an oak tree, this ginormous cactus species, the Amphilocoelius fragilis. I thought that was like a Brachiosaurus or something like that from Jurassic Park. I don't know. We're definitely a lot smaller. Look how where we are. So look already. These are just different beings that have walked this earth or swam in this earth, as we see the whale. That already shows just how small we can be compared to other things in this universe. So as we continue, we get into bigger and bigger things. We have trees, planes, Statue of Liberty. We have big monuments, all these things that are just so large to scale. And still, somewhere down here lays us, the human. So why are we looking at this? Because today we're going to go outside of our own world. We're going to go beyond Earth to show just how big things in this universe get and how really big this universe is. So if we keep going, we got the Hoover Dam, we have the Half Dome, we have all these crazy big just monuments. And now we start getting into outer space a little bit. So we're seeing some comets, some meteors that are way bigger than a lot of things on the Earth. Besides maybe the biggest mountain on planet Earth, Mount Everest. We get to the depth of the Mariana Trench, which we've never explored before. And then we get to things that we will see today. Neutron star. We start to get to some of the size of some of the states. This is how big some of these are. So some of these are moons and other extraterrestrial forms. We have full countries that these are the size of. The Grand Canyon. Now we're getting out to the size of California. And now look at this. We have planets. We have moons starting to show up on here. That's how big some of these planets are. And moons. And it's only getting bigger. So look at this scale. We're 10 to the 6.4. And we started at 10 to the 0. So we were at 10 meters. And this is how big some things are. And this is not even getting into most of the planets. So here we have the United States. We have Asia. Then we have Mars, Venus, Sirius B, which is a star that we might talk about later on. And here we have the Earth. So the Earth, a little bit smaller than Sirius B. Somewhere all the way down there is us humans again, right? But then there's the Earth. So as we keep going, now we're seeing some of the other planets. We've got Neptune, Uranus, Saturn. We have all these stars that we have mapped before. And now we're all the way out here. And look, we have the sun.
So the sun is ginormous, right? We can see it from the Earth. It's so big. But this just shows we're not even close to the end. So there's things out there that are bigger than the sun, and we'll learn that today. Look at all these other stars, because the sun is a star. And look, I want you to observe what their colors are. How do they look compared to the sun? So look, now we're getting some big, big, big. So look at all these stars. They're getting bigger and bigger. They're red. It's called red giants. Some are called white giants. So it's going to keep going and keep going. The distance from the Earth to the sun, these fit in between the distance between the Earth to the sun. That's how big they are. And they're just going to keep going and going and going. Look how big they get. So these are all throughout. This is the distance from the sun to the furthest planet in our solar system. That is how big these stars are. Then we have different belts. We have nebulas, which is a stage we will talk about later on, and we'll see why nebula is so big. Okay, so then there's that to Sedna, and it keeps going, and now we're getting into more nebulas that are just ginormous, ginormous structures. And yep, it keeps going. All these different nebulas, beautiful colors. We'll talk about how we get to nebulas. But look at all of these that have been seen just in our little bit of time of studying stars. And there's still so much out there. Look at their shapes, their names. And then we go past the nebulas. I don't even know. I honestly don't even know how to pronounce how many meters these things are. We get to star systems now. We got more star systems. We're going to galaxies. This is how big we are in the Milky Way galaxy, right? Has everyone heard of that? And that's still not even the biggest galaxy. Look at how big all of these ones are. There we are, finally, the Milky Way. There's so many other galaxies out there that are just so giant, and it just keeps going. The distance Earth has traveled relative to the sun is how big some of these galaxies are. And then we still just keeps going and going. It's really just incredible how big this really goes. And here we are, this Great Stone Wall. And we have the observable universe and then the estimated size. So in our time, we've been able to observe this much of what we think is how big our universe really is. So that just shows you how small a human is, that we go all the way back through all the stars, all the planets, all the states, all the big structures, and we get to us, human. Crazy stuff. Back to you, Mr. Cates.